If Spawn and Spider-Man had a baby, it would probably be Haunt. Created by the legends Todd McFarlane and Robert Kirkman, it follows the story of a troubled priest who becomes bonded with the ghost of his murdered brother, turning into the deadly entity known as Haunt. Daniel Kilgore has just spent an amazing time with a prostitute he regularly visits and wonders if she's willing to give him a freebie. She refuses, claiming they're already seeing each other too often and she doesn't want him getting any ideas. Daniel is a priest and he goes back to work at his church, where he meets his brother, Kurt Kilgore. Kurt is an assassin working for a special branch of the government, and he came to say his confession. On one of his last missions in Bolivia, he woke inside a body bag inside a mass grave, but he was in the wrong location. His mission is to infiltrate a secret base and retrieve an asset, but he had to kill a bunch of people. There was no other way around it. He was being surrounded, but Kurt is an excellent agent, and he easily dealt with all of them. He then went inside the base and met the asset, Dr. Schillinger, a brilliant molecular geneticist. But before leaving, the doctor wants to retrieve his subject, claiming he can't leave without him. Kurt thinks he's talking about some dead body, but no, he hasn't worked on cadavers for months. He was actually talking about a small and deformed boy who was locked inside a room with other test subjects. Seeing this left Kurt in shock, and he lost his temper. He then shot the doctor in the head and lied to his superiors, claiming he was killed in battle. He took the test subjects and asked them to follow him because he wanted to save them, but they only had a few minutes before reinforcements arrived. However, he failed to notice the doctor was carrying a bag that contained a notebook with his life's work, and another female agent snuck inside and stole it. Getting out was not easy, but for a highly trained assassin like Kurt, it was a piece of cake. Daniel heard his brother's confession because it's his job, but he claims he wants nothing to do with him on the outside. It's like he's dead to him. On his way out, Kurt is ambushed and taken hostage by a couple of guys who stuck him inside a van. He was taken to a warehouse where a thug is torturing him for information, demanding to know what happened to Dr. Schillinger's notebook. But Kurt is trained for this, and he isn't talking. The thug is working for a woman who wants him to numb him from the waist down and cut his off, and if he still doesn't talk, it means he doesn't know anything, so he should just kill him. It turns out that Kurt didn't know anything, so they viciously killed him. Daniel attends his brother's funeral, but when it was over, he could see his ghost talking to him. He thinks he's going crazy or just imagining it, but Kurt wants him to see his wife Amanda because she's scared and he doesn't want her to be alone tonight. Daniel doesn't want to do that because the three of them have history together, but he does it out of respect for him. Amanda says she took some heavy sleeping pills and asks him to spend the night on the couch. She'd feel much better knowing she's not alone tonight. In the middle of the night, a couple of killers break inside her apartment, searching for something. Daniel wakes up but doesn't know who they are or what's going on. Before he could get an answer, they fire at him, but Kurt's ghost tries to save his brother and touches his body. This causes the two of them to merge and create a single being called Haunt, a hideous creature with sharp claws, white glowing eyes, and hard skin. This creature jumps towards the killers and attacks them, using his claws to decapitate both of them. Their bodies lay on the floor covered in their own blood, while Daniel remarks that maybe he's not crazy, his brother's ghost might actually be real. Daniel picks up one of the guy's earpieces and hears someone talking to them, signaling that they're not alone. Kurt says he can move them easier if he just stops fighting him. They need to get over by the window. He then jumps out the window and begins free falling towards the ground, but Kurt eventually takes over and shoots webs from his fingers, which stops them from falling. There's a van parked downstairs where more killers are waiting for orders, but Haunt jumps on top of it and viciously kills them as well. There are now 2 sets of dead bodies on the streets and also inside Amanda's apartment. Kurt gives Daniel the number of a cleaner, a guy that works for the agency who disposes of bodies and cleans up the mess left behind. This guy used to know Kurt very well, claiming they used to be like brothers, and he misses him very much. Amanda wakes up in the morning without a clue about what happened last night. She gets ready for work, and Kurt wants his brother to follow her and keep her safe, but he wants nothing to do with her. Instead, he goes back to the church, but upon going inside, he is met with a gruesome sight. Another priest that was working at the church was viciously killed, but his killer is still here. This guy's name is Cobra, and Kurt warns his brother, claiming he's a deadly assassin who uses poison knives. He wants Daniel to let him take control of the body and do all the fighting, while trying not to tense up and slow him down. The two of them engage in a brutal fight, but during the struggle, Haunt slips on the blood and guts that were spilled on the floor, giving Cobra a chance to escape. After what happened last night, Daniel isn't safe anymore. In the last 24 hours, his life has gone from crap to absolute living hell. Amanda is in the same situation, but at least she's at work right now, around other people, which means she's safe for now. Kurt brings his brother to an abandoned home, which has a secret door that leads to an elevator. This is one of 8 separate entrances to headquarters, which is located about 8 stories underground. They're going to see a lot of things down here, but he doesn't want him to be startled. This is where he used to work, and these are his co-workers. Kurt wants his brother to not panic and calm down, and also not to make any sudden moves. but he does the exact opposite, and someone shoots him in the head with a tranquilizer dart. He wakes up in the jail, the same place where the subjects from Bolivia were taken. One of the women calls them Haunt, claiming she can see Kurt's ghost. She knows that he was killed and has passed into the next realm, but he's still here with Daniel, bound by blood, and their two souls are intertwined. Two living mixes into one. When our time comes, we pass on. The lives we live leave an imprint on the world. Our energy remains for a time, but quickly spirals out of existence. A second death more permanent. But Daniel's blood binds them. His life feeds his spirit, protects it, forms a barrier between this realm and the next, keeping him here. Daniel is taken to the interrogation room, where Special Agent Beth and Director Stans are interrogating him. They claim to know everything about his life, including his 3 times a week visit to a prostitute. They want answers. How did he get dragged into this? And how did he know to contact one of their cleaners last night? He tells her the truth that Kurt was killed by some people who are looking for Dr. Schillinger's notebook, and his ghost helped him kill them. Apparently they're haunt, which is a thing that happens where one guy tethers a relative's spirit to him, keeping him from going to the afterlife. But Beth doesn't believe a word he's saying and punches him in the nose. He was taken back to the cell where the woman from before started teasing him again. He falls asleep, but a strange man enters his cell in the middle of the night and injects him with something. He wakes up and transforms into Haunt, while Kurt remarks that this guy is a freelancer who's here to kidnap him. Even though Haunt looks scary, this guy isn't scared of him, claiming he's seen worse. Even though the guy is getting his ass kicked, he takes out his knife and threatens him, but Haunt slices his hand right off. He then impales him through the head with his leg, which transforms into a spear. They are quickly surrounded by guards from all sides, but before they can explain, Haunt falls on the ground, reverting back to Daniel. He was taken to the interrogation room a second time, but he keeps repeating the same story, and the agents don't believe him. Beth says she doesn't accept this. She's seen stranger things than his Haunt suit, but that doesn't mean she believes ghosts are real. She needs proof. She wants him to prove to her that Kurt is here by saying something that only she would understand, that only he would know. Kurt whispers in his brother's ear, "Autumn leaves." These 2 words get her emotional, and she immediately starts crying, realizing he might be telling the truth. Daniel quickly realizes that his brother had an affair with Beth, even though he's married to Amanda. He and Amanda used to be a couple, and he loved her very much, but Kurt stole her from him. That's why he hates his brother, because he tore them apart, but he wasn't happy, she wasn't enough for him, and he still cheated on her. Daniel accuses his brother of ruining his life. He loved Amanda and she loved him. Meanwhile, Assistant Director Rhodes is getting ready to enter the headquarters through the secret entrance, but she's talking with someone over the phone. Apparently she's a double agent, the same one who ordered Kurt's execution, and also the one who gave the freelancer codes to enter the headquarters. She's talking to her employer, Mr. Herg, who claims they need Dr. Schillinger's notebook or everything they've worked toward falls apart. Amanda is working as usual at the hospital, but seeing a picture of her late husband brings her to tears. 2 agents wearing black suits show up and ask her to come with them, but they refuse to show her a badge. Instead, they show her the gun. Director Stans believes Daniel's story and shows him the boy subject that Kurt rescued. This boy represents years of Dr. Schillinger's research. He was reanimating dead cells in cadavers, had stumbled upon the potential for eternal life, or at the very least a way to extend it. The doctor never told them that he began testing on live subjects, apparently moving his research towards accelerating cell regeneration. This boy is as strong as 10 men, and the areas of his body covered in growths feel no pain. The military applications for this technology are nearly limitless. Whoever is after Schillinger's notebook will stop at nothing to obtain it. Assistant Director Rhodes shows up and updates the director on everything she was able to find out about the leaked codes that allowed the freelancer to get inside the headquarters. She is feeding him lies, while also working for Mr. Herg, trying to find the notebook first. The agents that visited Amanda were working for the agency, but someone attacked their car and kidnapped her while they were coming here. Kurt uses Haunt to go after her and jumps into the first car he could find. He knows they don't have a lot of time and jumps through the side of the building, but he uses his webbing to catch the car before crashing on the road below. The director is confident he knows what he's doing and gives him GPS coordinates to where Amanda was taken. Haunt breaks inside an abandoned warehouse and goes on a rampage, killing the kidnappers in seconds. Amanda is covered in blood, but it's not hers and she's not afraid of Haunt. She knows he's here to save her. She says they were looking for a notebook, but she has no idea what they were talking about. She's clueless. Someone throws a smoke bomb inside. It's the assassin Cobra who jumps Haunt, armed with 2 poisoned daggers. Daniel asks her to get out of here and run away, while he stays behind to deal with the assassin. Cobra manages to free himself from the webbing, claiming Haunt's powers are nothing special. He's killed more powerful agents than him. He can murder his kind in his sleep. Something is happening and Haunt doesn't feel so good. He feels weak and dizzy and is barely able to move. As a last resort, Kurt uses a tentacle to stab Cobra through the mouth, taking out his nose completely. Unfortunately, he's too weak to go after him, as the assassin makes his escape through the side of the building. The agency arrives to the rescue, but Haunt faints a second time, going unconscious in front of them. Amanda was taken into protective custody, and luckily she didn't even know what Kurt used to do for a living, but she's a strong woman. One of the doctors tells him that because his brother's soul is tethered to him, it's also draining his energy, making him weaker. The suit form is draining him, and the doctor advises against long-term use of it. Director Stans asks him one more time if he knows what happened to the notebook, but Kurt doesn't have a clue. Director Rhodes is sitting in the corner, upset that her plan failed, and also that nobody knows anything about the notebook. Cobra was also taken to a private hospital where Mr. Herg visits him. He doesn't appreciate failure and hopes that he recognizes that after years of loyal service, these last few days he's failed him twice. Maybe he should have left him to die. Herg gets a phone call, but there aren't a lot of people who have this number, so it must be important. He is talking to the female agent who stole Schillinger's notebook, who claims she's looking for a buyer. Mr. Herg visits Cobra in the hospital and tells him that someone contacted them about selling the notebook. The seller wants him to personally deliver the money, which he doesn't like. There's a short list of people who know who he is and what he does. Nothing about this deal seems safe, but he needs that notebook nonetheless. Director Stans tells Daniel that they've received an anonymous tip regarding Schillinger's notebook. There's a sale taking place later today. It's being sold to an unknown party. They believe this person is responsible for his brother's death and all the trouble surrounding him lately. They're sending a team later to intercept the meeting, but Kurt thinks they should volunteer to go as well. The reason Haunt got weak before is because Kurt was pushing him to his limits, trying to save Amanda. If he relaxes this time, it won't hurt him anymore. They've completed the voice analysis and confirmed that the person who called in the tip is Mirage. Mirage is on their side, and Director Stans agrees to let Haunt go on the mission, but he doesn't take any responsibility if something bad happens to him. The meeting takes place inside a giant mall, and Kurt tells his brother that Mirage is a former agent, but she quit to go into business for herself. They've worked together before. Mirage meets Herg, but she wants to do the trade as soon as possible, even though he wanted to chat a little longer. As soon as the two of them exchange packages, the place erupts in chaos as good and bad agents surround them from every direction. Someone opens fire and everything goes to shit. Mirage takes the money and makes a run for it, while Herg ducks for cover, protected by his two female bodyguards. Haunt springs into action defending Mirage, even though Daniel wants to go after Herg and grab the notebook. This gives her a chance to escape, while Haunt remains behind to deal with the shooters. Once he was done, he goes after Herg and manages to catch him, but the female bodyguards unload a bunch of bullets in his back. Unfortunately, one of the girls is injured, and Herg goes to check on her, completely forgetting about the notebook. The bullets did a lot of damage, and Haunt is severely injured. He can't even breathe. Herg eventually gets away, but he leaves the notebook behind. Apparently, Haunt isn't completely bulletproof, and he has a few broken ribs. Kurt comes clean and says that he and Mirage had an affair, another one. They are both agents who worked together, and the two of them had more in common than he had with his wife. He loved her very much, and they even planned to leave the agency together. The mission in Bolivia was a setup from the start. They were supposed to steal the notebook together, and after selling it to the highest bidder, they would run away together. He was going to leave Amanda. Assistant Director Rhodes looks over the notebook, calling Herg a moron for leaving it behind, only to save those worthless women. She gets angry and pulls out her gun. She then shoots Director Stans in the head, killing him on the spot. She then gets away as quickly as possible, but not before detonating explosives, which cause a massive explosion. Agent Beth can't believe that she killed the director, claiming that Rhodes has been working for the agency since forever. They've even spent birthdays together. This means she was a sleeper agent this whole time, but if that's true, this is only the beginning. Several weeks later, Agent Beth was promoted as director, filling in for Director Stans, who was killed. She visits Daniel and offers him a job inside the agency. With guidance from his brother and training from the agency, he can become their top agent to replace his brother. Daniel takes the new ID card, which gives him access to the headquarters. It's not like he has other things better to do. Right before the mission in Bolivia, Kurt and Mirage spent an amazing afternoon together making love. He was confident their plan was going to work. He would get Schillinger to the agency and she would steal the notebook. This would ensure that everyone gets what they want, allowing them to leave the agency and run away together. Kurt was supposed to sneak inside the base inside a body bag, pretending to be one of the bodies that Dr. Schillinger would experiment on, but something happened and he was taken to a mass grave instead. Meanwhile, Mirage was also sneaking inside the base, but the place was heavily guarded, so she had to kill a bunch of people. She was sneaking through the vents when Kurt discovered what Schillinger was doing to the test subjects. That's when he killed the doctor, but Mirage thought he ruined their plan. After they left, she quietly snuck inside and took the notebook from the doctor's dead body. Several days later, she was in her apartment when she saw on the news that Agent Kurt was found burned alive inside a car. She went on a mission to find out who killed him and talked to a guy named Whisper. This guy knows all kinds of secrets. He even knew about her and Kurt. It's his job to know everything. He told her that some new group killed Kurt, but he's ashamed to admit he knows little about them, but thought that Herg was involved somehow. Mirage ran into Cobra the night he came to the church to kill Daniel, but she didn't know why. She was injured in the fight, but she took antitoxins before. She pinned him to the wall and threatened to blow his brains out if he didn't tell her the reason he was after Daniel. The only thing they told him is that he took some notebook, something to do with some dead scientist named Schillinger. Mirage loved Kurt very much and thought it's her responsibility to make sure that Amanda was safe. The day the agents wanted to bring her to the agency, she was right behind them, but things turned to chaos when they were ambushed by kidnappers. She eventually arranged the meeting with Herg and took the money and ran away, while Haunt kept everyone busy. In the end, she claims that her and Kurt were reckless, they didn't consider the consequences of their actions, and they got sloppy. She feels responsible for Kurt's death and also for putting Amanda in danger, so she snuck inside her apartment one night and left her half of the money from the deal. It's the least she could do. Daniel visits an old acquaintance, a prostitute named Charity that he would often hire, with whom he became close friends. But Charity isn't alone. She's with a tough guy who throws her inside the room and threatens her. Daniel decides to help and goes inside, but there are 3 other thugs sitting on the couch and they're all carrying weapons. Suddenly the lights go out and the thugs begin shooting, but Haunt uses the guy's body to shield himself. He then attacks the thugs and kills them swiftly without even breaking a sweat. Charity is thankful for his help, but the room is filled with dismembered bodies and they should leave as soon as possible. Somewhere else, Herg is having dinner with Agent Rhodes, who's kinda pissed that she was pulled out of headquarters and her cover was blown. The death of Director Stans has placed headquarters in complete disarray, and Rhodes' old colleague Beth Tosh has taken over as director, and thus far it has not been an easy transition. One of the scientists calls Herg and informs him that they've finished reviewing Schillinger's notes. It appears the reports of his horrible memory are completely and utterly true. He wrote everything down in detail, and they'll have no problem recreating his experiments. They'll be able to get this program off the ground very quickly. Amanda calls Daniel and asks him to come over to her apartment because something unexpected happened last night. Someone broke inside and left a ton of money on her bed, but Kurt knows it must have been Mirage. He wants Daniel to tell her the truth about him, that he used to be an assassin working for the agency. That's easy to do because he kept a secret room hidden in the kitchen, which contains a lot of weapons and tactical gear from his missions in the field. Daniel says the money must be some kind of life insurance thing, some kind of black channel money thing, something that can't be traced, but that money is hers. Because his work was top secret, Kurt could never tell her the truth, but all this information is too much for her to handle and she's gonna need some time on this. Next, the 2 brothers meet with the new director, Beth Tosh, who introduces them to Edward Williams, a person in charge of his training. However, it's not the training he was looking forward to. Instead of learning to use guns, knives, and kung fu, he's stuck reading The Art of War. Herg scientists are making tons of progress in recreating Schillinger's experiments, and they'll be moving soon to human experiments. Cobra was badly injured during his fight against Haunt, and even though he recovered, his face is heavily mutilated. Mirage took half of the money and went on a vacation on a remote island when she sees someone familiar. Whisper found her somehow and gets her up to speed with everything that happened. The attack on the headquarters, Director Morgan's death, and how Assistant Director Rhodes was a mole for Herg's organization. But for some unknown reason, Kurt's brother has been made a full agent. He's in training right now, which doesn't make sense. He's a priest. Weeks go by and Daniel attends his first shooting practice, but he isn't very good at it. Nonetheless, he's committed to becoming an excellent agent and performs the necessary training to get into better shape. These past couple of months would have been hard on anyone, but he's pulled through with flying colors, and his brother is impressed. Director Tosh says he's gotten word from headquarters. Edward Williams' report is in, he's passed the tests. His status as full agent has just been upgraded to active. The only thing missing is choosing a codename, but Kurt has a few ideas in mind. Next, it's time for Daniel to push Haunt to the limit. He wants to see just how much they can handle before his energy runs out, like it happened the first time. He pushes his body to the max, trying to reach his limit, claiming he needs to be able to know when that happens, but Kurt is reluctant. He was right, because Haunt is pushed to the max and loses consciousness while jumping from one building to the next. Meanwhile, Cobra is sitting in a high-story building planning out his revenge against Haunt when Herg visits him. The one who did this to his face is still out there, and he's taking a leave of absence. He's going after him, but Herg removes his ring and smacks him over the face, breaking one of his teeth. The big boss claims he's gonna get his revenge when he says so. Cobra belongs to him, and he will do exactly as he says. Daniel arrives at the headquarters, but as soon as he gets off the elevator, he is greeted by Scott Grooves, one of the nerds working here. He offers to carry his bags, claiming him and Kurt used to be good friends, which is a lie. This place has been upgraded and it looks amazing. Stephanie, one of the agents working here, introduces herself, saying she's looking to rent an apartment off-site and wonders if he wants to be roommates, but he'll have to think things over. A strike team was sent to investigate the site that's been gathering chemicals and equipment listed in Schillinger's notes, but they were ambushed. The scout confirms that most of his team is now missing and they need backup. Director Tosh claims they should have been more prepared for this and they can't afford to lose more agents, so she decides to to send in Haunt. 13 of their operatives have gone missing and the scout has cleared the area in advance of Haunt's arrival. He jumps off the plane and uses the costume to glide down to Earth and slow down his descent. He doesn't waste any time and attacks the mercenaries guarding this black site, spilling their guts everywhere. The poor guards don't know what they're up against, while Haunt is scaring them even more, claiming he's their death. Kurt remarks he doesn't need to talk to them, he just needs to kill them, that's it. Cobra visits his wife Jenny, who wants him to wear a mask because he looks disgusting. She belittles him, saying he used to love his face. It was perfect, strong, chiseled, rugged. He was a man. On top of that, the guy who did this to him is out there. Shouldn't he have killed him by now? Suddenly, she's in the mood to have sex and asks him to remove his mask, claiming it'll be like screwing a monster. She's never done that before. Haunt goes inside the warehouse, but the place looks like a war zone. Multiple assailants and lots of spent ammunition, but no bodies. It doesn't take long until he finds the missing agents. They've all been butchered and their bodies stacked on top of each other inside one of the rooms. Someone opens fire at him and he uses the costume to shield his body. He butchers another round of mercenaries who had no idea who they were up against. Haunt stumbles into a laboratory, which seems to be where they've been doing all the work. Whatever they were doing. It's been abandoned recently. They must have been evacuating during the firefight before he got here. He hears noises come from nearby. These guys are still evacuating, loading a body inside an airplane. The plane takes off, but Haunt manages to shoot his web and grab onto the tail wing. He slowly pulls himself on the side of the plane, but Kurt warns him they are running out of energy. Out of nowhere, Cobra attacks him. He was using magnetic boots to keep him grounded and he pins Haunt to the ground. But Haunt confidently claims that he beat him once, so he can do it again. But Kurt wants him to be careful and not get cocky. Haunt falls off the side of the plane, but Cobra refuses to watch him escape a second time, so he jumps after him. He was wearing a parachute and lands safely on the ground, but the same thing can't be said about Haunt, who was badly injured and lies unconscious. Daniel was taken prisoner and hanged on chains while a thug is torturing him. They want to know what happened to the suit. It was gone when they found him, so Daniel tells them the truth. But Herg doesn't believe him and calls him insane and then punches him as hard as he can in the stomach. This causes him to go unconscious, dripping blood from his mouth and nose, but Kurt is nowhere to be seen. Herg goes into the other room, but one of his scientists urges him not to kill Daniel before he gets a chance to study him, because his super compact exosuit may actually facilitate the sale of the Schillinger war drones. But Cobra gets pissed, claiming no one gets to kill him but him. That was the deal. He brought him here because he thought he might be useful, but he gets to be the one who kills him. Daniel eventually wakes up and Kurt shows up, claiming he doesn't know what happened to him. He just disappeared after they fell from the plane. Herg goes to check on him, but Haunt breaks through the door and attacks him. A big guy like him makes for an easy weapon, so he pushes him through the window. They were actually inside a skyscraper and begin falling, but Haunt uses web to slow down their speed. They still crash on the ground below and Herg goes unconscious. Haunt manages to make a phone call to the agency, asking them to trace this phone and claiming he needs a pickup. A van arrives which takes Herg away and drives off into the night, while Haunt disappears into the shadows. Now that Herg has been kidnapped, Cobra is next in line for his spot, but he doesn't want the job. He says he joined the organization as an assassin because he likes stabbing people, and there's not much stabbing going on as a boss. After a brief visit to the infirmary, Daniel sees Stephanie and says he thought it over, and he would love for them to be roommates off-site. She's thrilled and says he's not gonna regret this. She's clean and quiet and she smells great. Herg's scientists have been able to use Schillinger's notes and create soldier drones, but the buyers don't want to deal with anyone else besides him. However, Herg is being interrogated by the agency inside a hideout, but he was refusing to talk. He says they could feed him his ears and they wouldn't get any information from him. He would sit quietly as they remove his fingers or burn his flesh from his bones, and he wouldn't even give them the satisfaction of a scream. He is fairly confident he won't be staying here for too long, and he's right, because an army of reanimated soldier drones break inside and attempt a rescue. Herg is just sitting back and enjoying this, letting his drones do all the work to spring him out. He calls Director Tosh incompetent, remarking that Director Stans would have known to bring more agents, knowing it won't be enough to keep him prisoner. Haunt tries to fight one of the drones, but he gets grabbed and gets the air sucked out of him. Tosh tries to help, but she's powerless and just watches as her team gets ripped to pieces. Haunt grows spikes from his body and impales the drone, forcing it to let him go. Tosh does the only thing she can do and threatens to kill Herg if the drones don't stop, but they can't think for themselves. They are only programmed to follow simple orders. She gets shot in the chest and blood starts gushing out. Haunt springs into action and grabs her and then takes her out of the safe house to safety. In the end, Herg is rescued and he orders his drones to get him out of there as soon as possible. Director Tosh is taken to the operating room where doctors do everything they can to save her life. Charity got a hold of Daniel's phone number and asked him for coffee. She is grateful to him for saving her from her pimp, claiming she wanted to quit being a prostitute long ago, but he wouldn't let her. She always liked him. She looked forward to their time spent together when he used to pay for her services and wonders if they can have a future together because she would really want to try. Analyst Scott figures out that Herg must have had some kind of tracking devices planted inside his body. That's how the drones knew the location of the safe house. He vows to reverse engineer the tech and find a way to find him again. Herg goes back to work and demos what the drones can do to a group of Muslim investors who are thrilled. He later tells his two lovers that he plans to sell the drones to Toshima and his son, two Japanese crime bosses. Why sell to one group in a conflict when you can sell to both of them and double your profits? Analyst Scott was able to figure out that the tracking device planted inside Herg's body is laced with a very rare mineral called Simonium-245, which they can easily track. Meanwhile, Mirage visits Amanda and asks if they can talk in private, while Cobra is making love with his deranged girlfriend, who says she still loves him, even if he's a goddamn monster. The agency was able to track Herg's location, and Haunt is preparing with a strike team to break inside and fuck shit up. Mirage says she used to know Kurt, but Amanda doesn't trust her and threatens to shoot her if she doesn't leave. Mirage doesn't take no for an answer and breaks inside, claiming she used to sleep with her husband. The Japanese crime bosses are thrilled about the drones as well, but they suspect someone might be watching them. Rhodes checks the perimeter and panics, saying they need to abort because they are surrounded. The cat's out of the bag, and the agency breaks inside the warehouse, with Haunt leading the attack. If it moves, shoot to wound. He wants these people alive so they can answer for their crimes. Dealing with the mercenaries is a piece of cake, but the reanimated drones are something else. Haunt is fighting one of them hand to hand, while Herg gets his two mistresses and tries to escape. Unfortunately, the place is surrounded by police, and not even a large bribe will get him out of this one. Haunt cuts one of the drone's hands off, but it still punches like a truck. Kurt is able to figure out that these drones still have pores, and he is able to break inside and decapitate them. The SWAT team also lends a hand and finishes off the remaining drones, and he thanks them for the assist. In the end, the threats are neutralized and Haunt remains triumphant on a pile of bodies and flesh. Luckily, Director Tosh survives the operation and she's gonna make a full recovery. She compliments Daniel, saying he's done an amazing job, but he can't take all the credit. His brother was with him all the time. Mirage says she couldn't keep the secret any longer and had to tell her. While she and Kurt were together, she did everything in her power to steal him from her. But Amanda says she had it coming. She was engaged to Daniel when she started seeing his brother. She tore them apart and they never reconciled. Serves her right. Daniel decides to give his relationship with Charity a try, and she's helping him move in with Stephanie. The two women introduce each other, but Charity says her name is Autumn. Herg was taken to prison, but one of the guards visits him, claiming the Toshima family knows about the double cross and he won't survive more than a few days behind bars. After having sex with Autumn in the new apartment, Daniel goes out for a walk with his brother, but a mysterious shadow is watching them and decides to reveal itself. Agent Daniel is on a mission with Agent Park, but Park doesn't like him calling him by his real name. He can use fake names instead. They are meeting someone who brings them a package, but their cover is blown and someone shoots at them. A group of snipers are on top of one of the buildings, but Haunt's got this covered. He climbs on top and attacks them, leaving nothing but dismembered body parts behind. But one guy manages to shoot him with a rocket launcher. He falls on the ground injured, but Agent Park comes to his rescue, dealing with the shooter. They've intercepted the sale, got the plutonium off the market, not a bad day's work. Back at the headquarters, Director Tosh introduces Daniel to two other agents, Agent Weather and Agent Rhodes. The agency apprehended Victor Droon, who's been playing mole for the Arc-Light group, who created a device that lets them transport plutonium, completely undetected. Rhodes and Weather have been on the Arc-Light group for a long time, and if they're able to put this technology to use, they don't know how bad things could get. But they've got an idea, they've got a location, and she wants the four of them to lead a strike team. While they are talking, Kurt sees the mysterious shadow figure form behind him, but Daniel can't see anything. The meeting is over, but the shadow monster grows bigger in size and attacks Kurt. It completely wraps itself around him and then makes him disappear, but Daniel doesn't see anything and has no idea what is happening. His brother disappears into thin air, and this gets him worried, and for now, he's on his own. Later, Autumn wants him to come to bed, but he can't stop thinking about his brother. She wonders if Stephanie minds her staying here so much. They're not exactly quiet in here, and she also thinks she has a thing for Daniel. He reassures her that Steph has a boyfriend, even though they haven't even seen him yet. Arc-Light has a plutonium processing and enriching facility somewhere in the jungle, but the security is gonna be tight. The team lands on the ground and begins their mission, but Daniel is worried that without his brother, he might get himself killed. The team is ambushed by mercenaries and they look at Daniel to save them, but Haunt is nowhere to be seen. The team is being surrounded from all sides, but Agent Parker gives the order to mow him down. Everyone starts shooting and Daniel thinks he can do this without Haunt. He's got the necessary training after all. The fight escalates as grenades get thrown around, but they have to win this on their own. Daniel is doing a good job and is confident he's gonna make it out alive, when out of nowhere, he sees Kurt running towards him. The two brothers bond again and Haunt emerges, but the monster from before is running after them. In this form, Daniel can see it as well, but they have no clue what it is and what it wants. Agent Parker sees only Haunt fighting alone and thinks he's gone crazy, but the monster is relentless and doesn't give up. It doesn't even talk. It would help if it could talk so they could reason with it. The monster pins Haunt to the ground and begins ripping the costume off Daniel's body. This fails, so the monster begins devouring him completely, swallowing the costume alive. But this has an undesired effect and the monster explodes, spilling its guts everywhere. Kurt thinks it just wanted him, and swallowing Daniel also must have broken it somehow. The fight is over and the agents made it out alive. They must have killed over 12 mercenaries, but Agent Parker is mad at Daniel for not helping them and punches him in the face. They still need to finish the mission, and if this shit happens again, he's gonna put a bullet in his head. The team breaks inside the base and Haunt takes out most of the guards with ease, leaving only dismembered body parts behind. After coming back to headquarters, Daniel talks to Director Tosh and asks about the girl from Bolivia who was locked inside the prison with him. Most of the test subjects were sent back to Bolivia, but she didn't want to go back and is living here in New York City. Her name is Allegria, and Daniel wants to find her because she's the only one who could see Kurt and knows about Haunt. Something supernatural is after them, and he thinks she might know what it is and how to stop it. Daniel goes from one food shelter to the next trying to find her, but it's not easy and nobody's seen her. She tracks him down from the corner of a dark alley, saying she heard he's looking for her. He doesn't want to talk on the streets and takes her to the apartment, but Autumn catches them on her way out. She doesn't know if she should be worried about Daniel bringing other women, but he reassures her it's work-related. But before they could start talking, the monster appears once again, but this time Allegria could see it as well. She freaks out and fears for her life, calling this monster the apparition. Kurt merges with his brother and Haunt takes Allegria and tries to keep her safe. But getting away from this monster isn't easy, especially while carrying someone on your back. Allegria claims that the apparition is not a physical being, so it cannot die, it cannot be stopped. Once it has found you, it's not easily lost. Haunt's existence is not natural. There are forces that prevent Kurt from lingering in this realm. The apparition is part of those forces. They have no choice. So Haunt breaks through the window trying to get away, but the monster is right after them. Mirage was also scouting the city and sees Haunt, but she doesn't understand what's happening. It's not possible to escape him, and Kurt thinks they should just let it take him and get it over with. But Daniel refuses, saying he's not entertaining that idea even for a minute. He needs him and he's not giving up. Somehow they manage to lose it through the building, but Daniel is tapped out. The parasite is draining his energy and he used a lot of it trying to get away. Kurt is dead. He draws life energy from him in order to stay here, and when they bond, the feeding becomes more intense. Apparently, if they stayed bonded for a long duration of time, Kurt will eventually kill his brother. The apparition is here to save Daniel, and Haunt is unnatural. It's not supposed to exist, so it's here to end that. However, there are some items that help against it, but it's dangerous for her to stay with them, so she leaves, vowing to find them later. Meanwhile, Herg was taken to a highly secured prison, but someone helps him escape, and after killing most of the guards, he is grateful to finally be free. Director Tosh is informed of this and wants to organize a meeting with all of the top agents on this continent. She wants everyone in her room, calling it a top priority. Kurt asks his brother to visit Amanda, saying he wants to see her one more time, just in case the apparition finds them and takes him away. He can't do it alone because every time he wanders away from his brother, he gets confused, and also, he's constantly drawn back to him. The whole time he was on that mission, he was never really far away. The meeting takes place back at HQ, but Agent Kilgore isn't here, so Director Tosh gets pissed off. Daniel agrees to see Amanda, but she's angry with Kurt, saying she knows all about the secret life and the other women. She's met one of them, Mirage, who was actually pretty nice. When Kurt died, it was like she died with him. She loved him, though she couldn't live without him. But now, after finding out about his secret life, he feels like she never really knew him. Out of nowhere, the monster appears and attacks them, but Kurt runs away, trying to get it drawn after him. He jumps straight through the window, but Daniel jumps as well and bonds with him. Haunt emerges, but it can't do anything against the apparition, so they crash on the ground together. The monster pins him to the ground and begins devouring the costume, trying to eat it alive. He is successful and Daniel goes back to normal, but he lays injured on the ground and goes unconscious. Amanda finds him lying in the dirt, but he can barely speak and says that Kurt is gone. He wasn't lying because his brother was taken to a place covered in white light, a place with no beginning or an end. A voice talks to him, claiming it saved him because he was being destroyed, he was being wiped from all existence. The voice can't allow him to pass on to the next realm, and it cannot allow him to be destroyed. He needs to remain in the realm of the living. That's why it has bonded him to his brother. He has a purpose, and when he died, he wasn't ready to move on. But if that's true, why did he send the apparition after him? The voice claims it didn't send the monster, and it doesn't control it. Nobody does. The apparition is not something that can easily be stopped. Even for one as powerful as the voice, it's a mechanism of existence, something meant to keep humans from lingering where they don't belong. The apparition performs a function, one that is very essential to the continuation of all life, and Kurt will see it very soon. Daniel was taken to the hospital, but Director Tosh wants to move him to HQ, where it's safer. The doctor greatly opposes this decision, so she agrees to take him as well. Cobra spies on them and sees them putting him inside an ambulance and taking him somewhere. He reports back to his boss, who's kind of busy right now, pleasuring his many mistresses. Kurt wants the voice to explain the suit. Apparently Haunt is an intermediate stage. It's an early stage in the process of him consuming his host's life energy and becoming a living being again. When that happens, he will trade places with Daniel and his brother will die. The suit has powers. He can form knives, ropes, and other things, but that's so that he can defend himself to prevent removal from the host. The voice sends him back, claiming he needs to continue to do this until he succeeds. He must restore that which he's disrupted, but it doesn't want to say what that thing is. Before leaving, Kurt asks if the voice is God, but that's ridiculous. Daniel is still unconscious and was taken to a safe house, but Herg and Cobra are watching from the distance, planning their next move. Director Tosh is worried about him, remarking that he did pretty good for a newbie. He did everything he could to become a good agent and respects him for that. Kurt appears and needs to talk to his brother ASAP, so he touches him, trying to get him to wake up. Haunt emerges, but Daniel is still asleep and refuses to wake up despite Kurt's repeated tries. He eventually wakes up but wants to get back to sleep and pretend this isn't happening because the apparition is right there in front of them. Kurt reacts fast and he takes Haunt through the window, making the monster follow them. The others are in shock, but Director Tosh remembers Daniel mentioning something about this. Herg and Cobra were watching the safe house from a distance, but even they don't know what's going on and decide to just leave. The apparition chases after Haunt as the two brothers try to stay alive, not knowing what to do. Luckily, there's a helicopter flying by and they decide to climb a telephone tower to get to it. They grab onto it by shooting web, and the monster falls to the ground because it's unable to fly. This helicopter was a lifesaver because Daniel doesn't know how long he would have lasted. Kurt wants to get down to the rooftops and separate, but they haven't been joined together for that long. He refuses to give an explanation and just separates from his brother, but Daniel is still severely injured and unable to move without Haunt. They join once again and want to climb down, but someone shoots them with an energy beam. It's Allegria, who returns, claiming they are safe now. She used magic on them, claiming the apparition is able to find them by following their aura. She was able to switch their auras, which means the monster is after her now. It doesn't take long before they are found, but the monster is no longer looking for Haunt, it looks straight at her. She wants the monster to take her in their place, claiming they saved her life already and she wants to pay them back, but Haunt refuses to let her sacrifice herself. They grab onto her and take her away, but she fights back and forces them to drop her. Allegria begins falling straight towards the monster's mouth, closing her eyes and accepting her fate, but Haunt grabs her at the last second and takes her to safety. The hunt continues, but Allegria doesn't want to be saved. She wants to sacrifice herself and fights the two brothers as hard as she can. She is eventually captured by the apparition, who strips away the flesh from her body, leaving nothing but her skeleton behind. Daniel goes back to HQ and reports everything to Director Tosh, who barely understands half of what he was saying. Spirits this and monster that. Somewhere else, Cobra is talking to the mob bosses who ordered him to kill Herg for trying to double-cross them. He did the job and used one of his poison daggers to stab Herg through the chest. He eventually leaves, but Herg isn't killed and he gets up, calling him an amateur. He takes out the dagger and makes a phone call, saying he needs help. Daniel is having dinner with Autumn and Stephanie, listening to boring childhood stories. He is rather quiet and says he's got a lot on his mind, but Kurt can't stop thinking about Allegria and what happened to her. Herg was saved by Rhodes, but he questions whether Cobra knew that he'd been taking antitoxins, just in case he was ever stabbed by one of his poison blades. Everyone is slaves to a higher master. It was never impossible they'd be pitted against each other. But the betrayal continues as Rhodes takes out her gun and threatens him, but he refuses to go down without a fight. They start fighting and the car falls off the edge and crashes into the ground below, causing an explosion. Haunt is on another mission, following two thieves who stole something important, but getting to them isn't easy because they shoot him with a rocket launcher. They were running through a tunnel, but upon emerging on the other side, someone shoots Haunt, which causes him to abandon the chase. It's Mirage, who wanted to grab their attention because she wants to talk. She claims the agency can't be trusted. They've sent him on a mission to retrieve something that got stolen, but they didn't even tell him what that thing was. There are large forces at work here. She left the agency because she started to see glimpses of the big picture. He committed his life to the agency, mostly because of his brother, but the agency can't be trusted. Cobra goes back home and his wife is cooking octopus for dinner. He gets a phone call telling telling him that Herg is still alive, so he asks his wife to pack her shit up because they've got to disappear. Autumn and Stephanie are getting along great and agree to go see a romantic movie together, but Daniel just wants to sit on the couch and watch sports. The moment they are alone, he transforms into Haunt and goes outside looking for trouble. Allegria appears out of nowhere, completely naked, claiming she's not dead and doesn't want them to mourn her. She disappears just as fast as she appeared, but not before saying they'll see her again. The agency was able to capture Herg once again and brought him to HQ. He says they've been adversaries forever, but he wants them to join forces and work together, remarking that he knows exactly what they do here at the agency. They could be doing some good, but she doesn't see all the angles. She can't because she doesn't have all the answers. The two of them eventually agree to team up and work together. The second church is having a funeral, honoring one of their fellow priests who was killed. The cardinal claims they are beyond the bloody history of man. They have existed alongside it, but they are not part of it. They are proudly other. One of their own people was killed when Cobra was searching for Daniel Kilgore, and now the cardinal wants revenge. The priests perform a dark ritual, claiming they will take action and spill blood, just as their blood was spilled. They will send the dark emissaries into this twisted world, and they will enact swift justice as they have always done, embarking on a grand crusade, and all who stand against them will burn. Meanwhile, Daniel is walking beside his ghost brother, but he's kind of had enough of always being in his presence and hearing him speak, so he asks him to disappear and give him a moment's peace. He then goes to sleep in his room, but he has a nightmare where he is attacked by a red monster riding a purple horse. This monster is incredibly powerful and destroys his room, causing a massive explosion. Luckily, it was just a nightmare and Daniel wakes up exhausted. The next day, Daniel goes to HQ, but Kurt finds it suspicious that the two homeless people who always stay in the safe house to make it seem legit are missing. They go inside, but the whole agency has completely disappeared. It's as if someone had left this place in a hurry. Apparently, it's written in the manual that when shit hits the fan, you gotta be able to vacate at a moment's notice and leave no trace behind. Daniel wants to go somewhere safe and goes to Autumn's apartment. She's happy to see him, but his brother is constantly there, taunting him, saying that she's got a great ass. The two of them make passionate love in the bedroom, but Kurt is always there, watching and taunting him, remarking that she used to be a prostitute, so she has professional training. Suddenly, someone throws a smoke grenade inside the room, and a religious ranger breaks through the door. Kurt jumps to save his brother, saying they're back on the clock. The rangers want to clean this up quickly, but Haunt jumps between them and Autumn, ready to confront them. They open fire and the slaughter begins as Haunt viciously dismembers them, filling the entire room with blood and body parts. The rangers set their weapons for plasma containment, but he easily cuts it with his costume. Kurt wants Daniel to let him take control of Haunt, remarking that he can't carry his ass this time and just wants him to sit back and enjoy the ride. He's more vicious than ever, sparing no one and mutilating everything he touches, but Daniel wants him to stop. This is too much, even for them. There's too much blood and gore, and he can't do this anymore. Kurt refuses to stop, claiming this feels good. This is how it's supposed to be, quick and easy. Daniel can't take it anymore and separates from his brother, but the damage is already done. During the frenzy of violence, Autumn was caught in the crossfire and killed, and her dismembered body lies unconscious on the ground. The religious rangers were taken back to the radical city of the second church, where they are being washed of the blood and their sins. Daniel was also captured and brought here, where he is being tortured by dark priests. Kurt appears once again and taunts his brother, claiming he's somewhere being held against his will. Daniel wants them to merge into Haunt and get out of here, but Kurt doesn't want to. Deacon Larking is looking over the body cam footage from the attack, but they don't know what Haunt is, and he took them by surprise, killing many rangers. The Cardinal wonders if it could be another agent of the Insect King, another maneuver in his sick campaign for power, but apparently the Science Division has a different explanation. The surviving rangers are also interrogated, but the deacon wants to speak to them personally. The nature of Haunt is a complete mystery to them. Even their most learned scholars don't know anything about it. There is no mention of such a beast within even their most obscure scriptures. The ranger claims that the pastor is the one who transformed into this creature, an unholy thing. Suddenly, someone attacks the church's defense systems and destroys one of the turrets. The person manages to sneak inside undetected, camouflaged by the fire that has engulfed the rooftops. Daniel wakes up in his cell and asks his brother what's going on, but he refuses to answer and just talks in riddles, confusing him even more. He blames him for what happened at the apartment, where Autumn was killed, but Kurt refuses to take any blame, claiming it was chaotic in there, bullets flying everywhere. The guards take him again and take him to the interrogation room, where he is subjected to incredible amounts of pain once again. Daniel begs his brother to get them out of here, saying he needs him, but Kurt has lived a lifetime without needing anyone. The man from the rooftops breaks inside the lab and attacks the guards, dealing with them in mere seconds. He sets Daniel free and carries him on his back, remarking that at least he doesn't have to listen to them quoting more passages from the burning Bible. More guards enter the lab, but the man uses a smoke bomb to hide his location and distract them. Kurt continues to taunt his brother, but this guy can also see him and he wants him to shut up because it's distracting him. Cardinal Deacon visits the Rangers once again, but this time he didn't come here to talk, he came here to kill them. They have no room for repentance, and by killing them they begin a new slate. They are free now. The man takes Daniel to the sewers and introduces himself, claiming his name is still Harvey Tubman. He's here to pull him out, but he can't do it alone, and needs him to bond with his brother and create Haunt. He even gets into a heated argument with Kurt, shouting at him to stop acting like an asshole and make himself useful. Kurt eventually gives in, and together with his brother, they form Haunt once again. Deacon Larkin says they know exactly how to respond when threatened, especially on their own holy grounds. It's written in their scriptures. One of the priests informs him that the prisoners have escaped and are headed towards the main concourse, but the ground troops are unable to contain them. Larkin gives the order to unleash the hounds, and a large group of rangers ride their bikes. Haunt jumps above them and begins a brutal assault, using his tentacles to destroy the bikes and cause them to tip over. Many of them are caught in a powerful explosion that causes a stockpile of bodies. The rangers shoot rockets towards them, but Haunt dodges them with ease, while Kurt keeps taunting his brother. Meanwhile, Tubman is fighting his own battles and doesn't need any help. He's an excellent assassin. Daniel can feel that his brother is trying to take control of Haunt and doesn't understand why, but his brother just wants him to sit back and let the grown-ups drive. Daniel thought they were supposed to work together, but unless he wants another booty call to end up in pieces, just like Autumn, he better shut up and let Kurt do the fighting. Autumn was innocent, but according to Kurt, nobody's innocent, certainly not him. The bickering continues, but Tubman finally has enough and asks them to get their shit together because the Kilgores are more trouble than they're worth. He wants them to quit crying and concentrate because they are inside the Vatican and they need to get the hell out of here. Deacon Larkin is watching the fighting from his balcony, quoting scriptures and remarking that war feels so familiar. Someone brings him a copy of the Bible, but this one is special because it's burning. This Bible is made out of magic, and Larkin uses it to strike the escapees, hitting them with powerful lightning. Kurt claims that his brother doesn't deserve him. He doesn't deserve Haunt, but for now, he'll give him a pass. The attacks continue even more viciously than before, and Tubman is impressed, calling them tenacious. The Rangers are flocking, small groups moving in hive-mind unison. He's never seen anything like it. Larkin quotes the scriptures and prepares to launch another attack using the burning Bible, but Tubman thinks of something. He and Haunt jump on one of the bikes and fire a rocket towards one of the Vatican's doors. They then use this door to escape the Vatican's courtyard, just moments before Larkin uses another attack to try and stop them. They head straight towards the sewers, thinking it's the safest way out of the city, but the two brothers get into another heated argument. Kurt disappears, while his brother follows Tubman through the sewers and escapes this place. Deacon Larkin goes into a secret lab where they are working on someone. Claiming they have many weapons to fight with, technology helps them in inflicting mythological Armageddon on this so-called modern society. The priest who was killed in Daniel's church was placed inside a test tube where they are performing experiments on him, turning him into a fire golem. Meanwhile, the two escapees make it to a military airport used by the United States to send equipment back home. This could be their free ride back to the States, and they manage to sneak on board undetected. The flight home is full of turbulence, but this feels like a walk in the park compared to what they had to endure until now. Daniel is thankful for Tubman's help. He helped them escape, so I guess they owe him now. Daniel falls asleep and Tubman remembers one of his missions from the 1970s. He and his partner, Cal, were dancing inside a groovy club, but they were actually on a mission and just pretending to have fun. They sneak inside the owner's office, Silvestro D'Amata, an infamous mob boss. This guy is involved in drugs, prostitution, and other crimes, and doesn't understand what they're doing in his office. Tubman says he didn't come here for him, he came for his sister, who's a ghost, just like Kurt. She overdosed on drugs and is now tethered to her crime boss brother, but Tubman sees her and wants to take her from here. Chaos erupts as a brutal fight begins, and bodyguards are taken out one by one. They come at him from every angle, but he's out of their league and easily deals with them. They are all killed, and the only thing remaining is to take Silvestro's sister, but he doesn't know what that means. Tubman claims the sister is dead and doesn't belong here, so he sits on the ground and performs a ritual. A blue portal opens up, and the sister is sucked in, while she desperately tries to cling on to her brother. In the end, she was taken into the afterlife, but her brother is pissed as hell and vows to kill him because nobody messes with his family. Later, he hires a group of assassins and orders them to find his sister's killer and kill him. Tubman is relaxing with Cal, doing yoga, claiming that he's the only conductor left and his job is restoring the natural order of things. Out of nowhere, a chopper finds them and fires rockets towards their house. It was the assassins hired by Silvestro who managed to kill Cal, but Tubman survives. Cal becomes a ghost, but instead of going into the afterlife, he tethers to his brother, who is in a coma inside a mental institute. Tubman eventually finds him and wants to send him to the afterlife, but the assassins find him first. Another fight erupts, and Tubman takes out one of them by stabbing her through the eye. Out of nowhere, a creature called Purgatory appears. This creature devours ghosts such as Cal and tries to eat him alive. while also taking out the assassins inadvertently. This creature's body is embedded with the souls of every ghost it has devoured, but Tubman manages to injure it with his sword. He then picks up a machine gun lying on the ground and fills its body with bullets, forcing it to run away and let them be. Tubman then performs the ritual once again, and Cal is dragged into the afterlife. As payback, he finds Silvestro, who is an old fat man now, and kills him by blowing up his penthouse, remarking that Cal deserved a lot better. In the present, he remarks that this kind of thing is never easy, and it's way bigger than any of them, but Daniel will understand, even though he already knows he's not gonna like it. The fire golem, the creature that was created beneath the Vatican, is being placed inside a ship and sent to the States to find and kill the persons responsible for the attack. After arriving home, Daniel goes straight to Autumn's grave to pay his respects. She was only 26 when she was killed, and he blames himself. A police car is sitting nearby, watching him, but they don't approach him yet. Kurt visits his ex-wife Amanda and catches her making love with another guy. I guess her mourning period is over, and she has a right to move on, but he just wanted to make sure she's gonna be alright. After another day spent without his brother, Daniel comes back home and runs into two police officers, Agent Lardner and his partner McCullers. They want to ask him a few questions about his relationship with Autumn, but he only says he used to be her priest and then goes back inside. Tubman is waiting for him on the couch and asks him if he knows why the Dark Priest kidnapped him. There must be a reason behind it. Meanwhile, at the docks, the ship transporting the fire golem arrives, but something is wrong, and it crashes, causing a giant fire. Police arrive, but they are overwhelmed with the severity of the situation, and before they could get more help, a giant monster made of fire emerges and attacks them. They start shooting it, but this creature is immune to bullets and just burns them alive. Daniel wants to go back to the church, and Tubman offers to drive him there. There's a giant snowstorm happening right now. Inside, he runs into Father Pearson, who isn't happy that he quit, remarking that the world needs saving, and that there is more than one source of scripture that exists in the world. There's a strange purification ritual happening in the corridor, where priests, half naked, are praying while facing the wall. But that's not the weirdest part. They go into the main church, but the place is being overrun with giant bugs who viciously attack the people attending. The bugs see him and chase him down, so he runs for his life and hides in the storage room. He manages to kill one of them using a candlestick, but he isn't alone anymore. His brother returns and says he's impressed. All that training they put him through didn't go to waste. They get into another argument, but at least this time Kurt decides to help him, so they transform into Haunt. They go into the main church, but the bugs have disappeared, even though Daniel swears this whole place was crawling with them. Out of nowhere, someone throws Tubman's car through the door, nearly hitting them in the process. It's the fire golem who made his way from the docks and has managed to find them here. As the entire church erupts in fire, Kurt says the agency training never included this shit. This thing might have killed Tubman, but that wouldn't be a huge loss for humanity. Haunt spawns tentacles and attacks the giant monster, but they catch fire the moment they make contact. That wasn't the smartest move, because it hurts like hell. They need some breathing room until they come up with a new plan. Haunt breaks through the window and tries to get away, but the scene is horrifying. The entire church has caught fire and the monster shoots a fireball towards them. This catches them off guard and they don't have time to dodge it. The blast was so powerful that it separated the two brothers, causing Haunt to disappear. Kurt begs his brother to wake up, but he's badly injured and is barely even conscious. The fire golem prepares to land the final blow when out of nowhere, a city bus crashes into it. It was Tubman who came to their rescue and managed to jump off before the bus got melted in the fire. But the monster isn't dead, and the old man wants the two of them to get over their differences and get their shit together. He tries to buy them some time and attacks the monster alone, just with a sword in his hand. He picks up a manhole cover and uses it like a frisbee, hitting the fire golem straight in the head. This causes damage and also exposes a weakness. Apparently the monster is wearing some kind of mask, and Tubman wants Haunt to retrieve it. The two brothers jump on it and grab onto the mask, but removing it isn't easy. They are getting burned, and it hurts like hell, but Kurt wants his brother to suck it up. They are successful, and the monster begins acting up, while Daniel has another vision of his nightmare. The fire golem is defeated, and he falls on the ground with his guts hanging out. But something happened to Haunt as well. He looks different, bigger, scarier, something that even Tubman hasn't seen before. Haunt gets a power rush, claiming it feels good. No more struggle, no more pain. But Tubman wants them to dial it back now. They've performed a valuable service and the monster is dead, but now he wants him to calm down and let the two brothers come out. Haunt eventually disappears, and the two brothers separate once again. Daniel says he's seen things, visions, blood and death, other states of consciousness. He never paid close enough attention to this church. There was always something weird about the practitioners here, but now the entire thing is engulfed in flames. Daniel goes back home and falls asleep, but he receives a phone call in the middle of the night. Someone tells him that he left something for him back at the agency's headquarters, and he thinks he's talking to analyst Scott. He immediately goes to HQ and finds a giant bug impaled in one of the labs. The same kind of bugs he saw in the church. Daniel is confused as hell when his brother appears and scares the shit out of him. Kurt asks him if it's the same kind of bugs from the church, but Daniel's mind is somewhere else and he isn't focused. He thinks they came after his church almost like it was a deliberate attack, but he has no idea why. Somewhere else, the Insect King talks to his subjects, claiming they were here long before humanity and will be here long after they are gone. He wants the bugs to go into the world and create chaos, letting them know that they survive through war, and their war takes many forms. Somewhere else, an infamous drug lord named El Predicator has hired Mirage as his personal bodyguard. He claims he's a ruthless drug lord that isn't afraid of anything and even brags about some of his crimes, but he saw something that scared him shitless. But the other guards are jealous that their boss put Mirage in charge of compound security instead of them, claiming they need to take matters into their own hands. They want to prove to their boss that they don't need outsiders messing with their business, and besides, there's a rumor that Mirage worked in US intelligence. Mirage goes into town and finds Whisper, who paid a local prostitute to let him ride her like a horse. She tells him about El Predicator, how he hired her to protect him against the king of insects, but she doesn't know who that is. Unfortunately, Whisper doesn't know either. Maybe an environmental terrorist or maybe a cartel assassin, but he's gonna keep his ears open if he hears anything. Back at the compound, the other bodyguards attack Mirage, trying to take her out and reclaim the position as head of security, but she's a tough girl to take down. She kicks the shit out of them and pulls a gun on them, but their fun is interrupted by something. A giant bug comes running towards her, but shooting it has no effect against its tough exterior. Thankfully, she was armed with an axe as well, and she manages to cut off its head. El Predicator comes running out, claiming that's one of the things he's hiding from. But how come there's only one? They usually travel in packs. He was right, because more of them come out of nowhere and attack them. The place erupts in chaos as the bodyguards are taken out one by one. El Predicator gets his head chopped off during the attack, and Mirage tries to run away. She gets into one of the cars, but the bugs are after her and she loses control. She fell off the edge, but luckily she survived and is now recuperating in one of the local hospitals. Apparently she woke up and crawled all the way here on her own. That's one tough woman. Back in New York City, Kurt says he doesn't like Tubman very much. The guy's creepy and probably has a hidden agenda. Suddenly, the bug's body turns to dust and there's nothing left behind to study, leaving the two brothers with more questions than answers. Daniel has another nightmare. A ruthless red knight riding a monster horse that attacks him. He's been having a rough year, and this recurring nightmare is getting worse. The room is dark, and you can barely see anything when suddenly, someone attacks him from the shadows. Luckily this wasn't real, just a hallucination, but he begins questioning his sanity. The site of the church that got burned down is being investigated by agents Lardner and McCullers. A fancy bus arrives, and a man wearing a sharp suit gets out, followed by two priests dressed in red robes. He claims the site belongs to the second church, and the two agents have no jurisdiction here. He politely asks them to leave immediately, and if they don't like it, they can complain to their superiors. Tubman confronts Daniel, accusing him of having control issues. That was a wild scene back at the church, and there was even a moment where he wasn't quite himself. He wants him and his brother to patch things over and play nice, but that's not gonna happen anytime soon. Kurt is missing, but Tubman teaches him a trick to try and summon him here, remarking that his brother is always close by. Daniel is successful and Kurt appears, but he's in a bad mood and doesn't like being summoned like this. He never liked Tubman and vows to take him down, so he takes control over Haunt and attacks him. The old man gets into a fighting position and isn't afraid, claiming he knows secrets that he will never know. Haunt attacks him, but the old man dodges the attack. Daniel refuses to help his brother, claiming he's always been an asshole ever since they were kids. Every day of his life, all he's ever done is shit on him, but not anymore, not this time. This time, Kurt is the bitch. The brothers begin an internal struggle, fighting to take control of Haunt, while Tubman watches in disgust. They eventually separate, but Tubman decides he has had enough and leaves. The fighting continues back home, with Kurt accusing his brother of needing to hold his hand, while Daniel refuses to let him take control of Haunt, remarking that he already has enough blood on his hands. Daniel gives up and tells his brother about his nightmares, saying he thinks there's something infected in his brain. Sometimes these nightmares feel so real, and it's always the same thing. Blood, fire, and whatever this thing is, it just keeps coming. The two detectives complain to their chief about the second church and their lawyer, but there's nothing they can do about it. The second church has too many connections, and there's no way they're gonna get approval to investigate the site. Agent Lardner still thinks that Daniel Kilgore is involved somehow and says he's got an idea. Daniel goes to sleep, but someone attacks him in the middle of the night and nearly rips his head off. This creature breaks his bed in half, and he barely escapes the initial attack. He quickly realizes this isn't a nightmare and it's actually happening, but the creature throws him across the apartment. It looks exactly like a Haunt, a female version at least, but Daniel can't believe it's actually true. Luckily, the Haunt gets distracted when someone knocks on the door and Daniel rushes to see who it is. His ex-girlfriend's parents, who want to talk to him about something. He turns around and realizes the attack wasn't even real. His room is back to normal and there's no sign of the female Haunt. Daniel goes to a nearby diner with the parents, and they wonder why they didn't see him at the funeral, but he was in another country at that time. The mother starts reading from the letters her daughter sent her, where she mentioned Father Daniel and that he was a good person who helped her a lot. Kurt shows up and taunts his brother, daring him to tell the parents just how much their little girl liked him. She was always writing to them about everything she was doing, volunteering at the village nursing home, delivering for Meals on Wheels, always such a hard worker. Sounds like someone didn't tell her mommy she was a hard-working prostitute. The parents are curious why the father isn't wearing his white collar, but he finds an excuse and goes to the bathroom. He and his brother get into another argument. What the hell was he supposed to say to them? That he killed their daughter's pimp and then got her killed too? He blames himself and punches the mirror with his bare fists, but that wasn't a smart idea. He goes back to the diner, but his hand is bleeding, while the parents think to themselves that Father Daniel is nothing like their daughter made him out to be. The two agents visit a local church and talk to the archbishop, asking what he knows about the second church. Apparently, it was established in the early 1800s, just as the Catholic Church was settling here. Initially, they were a legitimate concern, until they realized that expansion was not their goal. Nevertheless, there was some investigation. Apparently, they follow a religious text, although its specific origins are unknown. The archbishop gives them a copy of their scripture, titled The Burning Bible. This Bible talks of unspeakable acts of cruelty against everyone, including the old and the young, both maids and little and women. There have been attempts to analyze the text, and more than one theologian has been driven insane in those attempts. In the second church's headquarters, the lawyer informs Deacon Larking that on-site readings at the burnt church proved extremely favorable. He proposes another scouting mission, but his humble recommendation is to proceed. It is their manifest destiny, is it not? Larking agrees, claiming they can accomplish so much as they once again place their boot print upon the face of the world. They will smite their enemies with one swift hit, but someone is sitting behind them in the shadows and doesn't think it's a good idea, reminding them to temper their emotions. This is no longer about simple retribution. This is about evolution through war. The two brothers talk to Tubman about their control issues, but Kurt just wants to kill him. But Daniel vows to stop him from doing it, reminding him that they need to focus on control. Out of nowhere, the female haunt appears once again, but this time Kurt sees it too. She instantly attacks them, asking Daniel to take it back, an eye for an eye. Tubman can't see the female haunt and doesn't know what's going on. To him, they are just fighting each other once again. The female haunt catches them off guard and pins them on the ground, but this isn't the first time Kurt has had to deal with a woman scorned. He manages to free himself by grabbing her with tentacles. That's when Daniel realizes something and separates from his brother, going back to his human form. He figures out that this female haunt is actually Autumn, who's haunting him. Ever since they accidentally killed her, he can't stop blaming himself, and he's overwhelmed with guilt. Autumn says she's just the collateral damage of his life, the first of many, but he has to live with the guilt, and then she just disappears. Tubman says he needs to start getting used to the fact that what he is comes with a heavy price. The parents visit their daughter's grave, while Daniel watches from the back, asking his brother to show some respect and stop mocking her. Somewhere else, a girl is running from giant bugs that are chasing after her. She trips and falls on the ground, while a group of religious rangers appear in front of her, claiming there's no need to panic. They are here to serve and protect. In the present, Amanda was fired from her job because her personal issues and the grief she had to deal with after her husband was killed were affecting her work performance. Daniel is in the parking lot spying on her, but Kurt is angry and wants to know why. Autumn was killed because of him, and he's just trying to make sure that Amanda is safe and nothing happens to her, but the two brothers get into another argument. Kurt says that all that training they put him through, it was all a pony show to try and make sure he didn't look like a worthless asshole. Without him, he can't do shit. Daniel says he figured his brother out and knows the reason why he's acting like such a complete nutjob lately. It's because being dead is driving him insane, but what does he know about it? Somewhere else, Tubman is performing another exorcism and sends another ghost into the afterlife. The brother is a local thug and he wants to kill him for killing his brother's ghost, but that's his job. We see flashbacks to 6 months ago. After Haunt and Cobra fell off the plane, Daniel was taken prisoner by Herg and tortured. The guy beating him up was confident he was going to break him and force him to tell them everything they wanted to know. It was just a matter of time. After Haunt crashed in the water and the two brothers separated, something happened to Kurt and he was taken somewhere else. He arrived in Hong Kong back in time, to a hotel where he and Mirage had once stayed. He didn't know what was going on and figured it's some kind of Christmas Carol bullshit, a ghost trip down Libido Lane. He is then teleported somewhere else, while a mysterious creature watches from the shadows. He was taken to a metro station in New York City, but the mysterious creature is here as well, hiding. It then attacks him out of nowhere, revealing that this creature is actually the Purgatory, the monster who eats ghosts. He tried to get away, but the Purgatory was relentless and chased after him. It attacked him with a green toxic vomit that stopped Kurt from flying so he couldn't escape anymore. Tubman came to his rescue armed with 2 machine guns, claiming that Kurt was being tested. His life and his soul both needed testing to see how far he could be pushed before insanity set in. He passed so far, but just barely, and it was time to elevate him to the next level of his journey. He needed to forget about everything he was seeing because it was all just an illusion, but it was time that he and his brother finally started dealing with the true reality of their existence.